Hey everyone. So we're gonna get started. And I want to see if you guys can mute your phones. You see a mute option in the upper right hand side. It's right now, I think some of you are probably having a lot of stuff going on in the background there. And can you guys hear each other or can you only hear me? I just want to confirm that.
For you.
You can only hear me, right? You don't hear any background noise?
No, but
Oh,
okay. I don't have anything on my screen either.
Okay, well, did you click on the link? Because you have to both call the number and click on the link, and it's going to ask you to download Citrix.
I did all of. I have nothing on the screen.
Did you click the link?
Yes.
Okay, so what is it? What is it showing you right now?
It just says connected to go to meeting.
Okay.
Your meeting go, and the rest of that stuff. But that's all I get.
Okay. Well, hold on one sec. Okay. We're gonna try and just troubleshoot this a little bit for you guys. Is there anybody else who cannot see a screen? Oh, Derek, you see the screen? All right, guys, hold on one sec. So if you guys can't see the screen, go ahead and send Ivan a message through Messenger. Because I think what it is you have to go through the link. You have to download typically something called Citrix, okay? And you'll see that on the bottom, and then you have to click on that to actually see the webinar. So if you guys can't see the screen, please type me a message or just talk to me and tell me if you can't see it. And then if it's just a few people, I'll have you guys just message Ivan. Yeah, so basically it's going to give you a message, and you want to just follow the prompts when you go to download Citrix, okay?
Oh, it's not giving that.
It's probably based on something with your computer, because it depends on what browser you're in. My biggest suggestion would be to use Google Chrome. I think it's the most yeah, I think it's the most updated browser. So if you're using something that's kind of integrated like Explorer, I would not do that. Definitely not. Okay. So it looks like you guys are figuring it out, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so we're gonna get started. And so what we're gonna do is basically my ideas about today's presentation, because it is our first one and we have so many new people here who have never used the brand. My goal is to really explain who we are as a brand, walk through some product knowledge, talk a little bit about some procedural questions that people have, but also go through some of our protocols, because there's a million different ways to do some of what we do. And I really just want to introduce myself to the group formally, because there's so many of us now. I think we're approaching almost 4,000, which is really cool because we're only 5 months old, actually. So I really appreciate that you guys are members of this group and that you came today, okay? So we have about 18 people here so far. And So what I want to do basically is start telling you a little bit about the brand and about the reasons for recommending this brand to your clients. Um, but I'm the founder of this company. I've been in esthetician for 18 years, and I really wanted to do things differently when I was about 10 years in because the industry was changing so quickly. I've worked with Chirality Correct skincare now for about, I'm going to say about 15 years, the better part of 15 years. And I really wanted to present like a fresh approach to the way that business is being done because I can see our industry is taking a turn towards being maybe a little on the inexpensive side or maybe cheap side, even if you will. And so I'm very cautious about how we present this brand to people and how our wholesale accounts present the brand to their clients because ultimately if all of us as estheticians are presenting the brand in the same way, then we can all win big and we can all protect the brand and protect the integrity of the brand. So what we'll be doing in this webinar is we'll give you a little bit of like a crash course on chirality, do a walkthrough of the products, and then we will make sure that you guys as licensed professionals know exactly how to recommend the home care, and then you'll feel comfortable designing your treatment protocols, even like your series and single services as well. Okay, we just want you to be able to do an outstanding job with your clients so that they see the value in us once again. And another reason that I have decided to do certain things this way is because we've talked a lot about Groupon in the group. And I'm not going to say it's hurt our industry because realistically, it kept many of us afloat when our prices were too high, during like an economy crash and things like that. However, we really want to be mindful of how we bring in clients and how we keep those clients too. So I'll be touching a little bit on that later, okay? Now, the biggest difference about this brand is that when you're recommending ModVellum to your clients, you're working from a foundation of integrity. And what I mean by that is that there's a lot of love that's gone into this product, and you are working with myself, and a lot of your reps are also working estheticians. That's very important to me because I think that we can all protect each other and we can all support each other. And in that, what's really important and also difficult and where we all struggle is we always have this question about like how do we stand out as aesthetics practitioners, but also like navigate some of the changes that are going on in the industry with our clients. So our clients are being exposed to a lot more opportunities to work on their skin. Some of it is like, MLM. Some of it is department stores and Sephora and some of those competitors. I would say they're kind of raising the bar a little bit. They're not really, in my opinion, if you're working with a true professional line, I don't think that they are our competitor. If you're really working from a professional standpoint, I'm not going to say they are our competitors. I will say that they are great marketers. And so it's been interesting for us as estheticians, most of us being mindful, most of us having integrity. It's been interesting for us to sort of step into a marketing and social media role while not doing like a deceitful type of marketing that many of the large brands do, right? Not everyone, but sometimes there's a little bit of deception, with the MLMs and those before and afters and, all of these things that I will touch on, but I don't think we really need to discuss those things at length, but I think that we need to sort of rise up, but have integrity in the matter. And that's going to make all the difference for our clients, okay? So what sets the ModVellum clinical approach apart is the integrity that has gone into the construction of this business. I'll tell you guys a little story about, let me see, I want to say 7 years ago. It had to be about 7 years ago because it was right before I created this brand. And I was toying with the idea of getting started, right? And I had a very successful business. I was in San Francisco. I had 12 employees. We were open from 8 a.m. to 8:30 at night. And these employees had like shifts. So they would work like 8 to 2 or like 2:30 to 8:30, right? We literally probably had 1,000 new clients a month. That's how busy we were. And I was miserable. It wasn't the business for me. And I was thinking to myself, well, what am I going to do that is really going to make me happy and where I can feel like I can be of value to others? Because even though I had a staff of 12 people, I had a staff of 12 people that were completely uncoachable. And then I started to realize that I was in no shape to coach them. So I went and I took a seminar series called the Landmark Forum, which some of you might know of. And it's basically coaching from the standpoint, it's like life coaching from the standpoint of, I'm going to say business. A lot of entrepreneurs are in this class. And it's really interesting, some of the people that have entered this class, which is usually about 100 plus people, 150, I want to say. It's like 3 days, it's 12 hours each day. And what they really do for 3 days is teach you about integrity and how to come into integrity in your entire life, but also your work. And I realized I wasn't in integrity with my business at that time because I was like saying one thing that I wanted, but I was actually creating a whole other thing that I didn't want. So it was like having a out of body experience. And then I started thinking about it and I'm like, how can I be supportive to the industry and give the estheticians what they really want, which is like to go out on their own. You know, a lot of these employees didn't want to be employees. They either didn't want to be a part of the industry or they wanted to have their own business. So, you know, I just wanted to touch a little bit on that. And, you know, I also wanted to share with you that I think that it matters that we're 100% esthetician owned. I really think that matters. I plan on remaining investor free. I made that decision about 4 years ago when I had the opportunity. I met with a few investors and I thought, no, they want to do the cheap thing, right? So I didn't want to do the cheap thing. I wanted to have integrity. I wanted to have a great product line that people loved, and I wanted to have happy clients. And I didn't want my business to be a revolving door anymore. So I was making a decision for me that I hope will benefit you guys as well, okay? So we're founded on integrity-based coaching, and the company that I worked with for that is Landmark Forum. If you guys want to look them up, I think it's one of the most fabulous, life-changing seminars that you will ever go through, okay? So my goal is to disrupt this industry and position ourselves as the experts once again. There are several ways that we can do that. The first thing being hugely foundational is what's in the product. And we talk a lot about using chiral correction as much as possible because it's going to give our clients like a high efficacy. And typically, they're not going to have these standard issues like PIH, et cetera, because we're just not creating as much inflammation on the skin. Now, if we do a peel, depending on who we do it on, the very act of changing the physiology of the skin, that can be inflammatory because it's the process itself that is inflammatory. This is where I think a lot of people get confused. If you go to the gym and you work out and you haven't worked out in a very long time, you're going to have inflammation tomorrow. Yeah, right? You're not gonna not go to the gym. You're gonna have inflammation because you went to the gym. So you can experience inflammation when you are trying to condition the skin. This does not mean that the ingredients that you are using are inflammatory. It is just the process of breaking down and then having the skin rebuild. But that being said, we do not agree with the older approach of really frying the skin, creating a lot of scabbing, wounding. I also think that no matter what paperwork you're having your client fill out, I think that those types of peels are just much more problematic today than they were 18 years ago when I was kind of getting started in the industry. It's a little different now. People can't heal as well. And there's, just time and time again, you usually will have an issue that you're resolving through texts. Maybe they're coming in, maybe they're sending you pictures, and it's a higher amount than it's ever been. So we kind of stay away from those really high grade peels that are going to be breaking down the skin, and also to keep you in integrity with your license, because our licenses, pretty much state by state allow us to work mainly on the stratum corneum, and honestly, that's where we're safest. So that's why, by design, we have decided to make this line chirally correct. Okay. So, in addition to chiral correction, we are like purists. And we're organic when possible. We have to have a standard to the type of production that we're doing. So our raw suppliers, because we work with an FDA, not approved lab, an FDA compliant lab, the raw suppliers send their ingredients, and the lab initially does what's called an assay on the ingredient. So here's one big distinction that I want to make for this is sometimes when you see like a handmade line at your like a herbal store, or like maybe even Whole Foods will sell like handmade items, that doesn't guarantee purity, because if someone is not working through a lab, then the lab hasn't tested that raw ingredient to see what the residual chemicals are. And, if there's anything left, they will need to put it on the label. That's really important. So organic when possible, because we have to have the supplies. So if they're organic, that's what we do. And if for some reason there's a shortage, then we'll put them in non-organic. But because the product is so clean and there's an assay being done, we would know if there was a chemical in that and if we needed to omit it or not. So I hope that helps you guys. The line is, I'm going to say it's vegetarian always, but that's for retail, because we do have one product that is marine, and it is definitely vegan when possible. We have the cleanser that has yogurt in it, okay, but I believe that is about it for retail. And we also have no artificial fragrances. Our fragrances are from essential oils, or they are powdered like fruit. So we don't have any dyes. We don't have any talc. We don't have any buffers. It's considered to be non-toxic. We are propylene glycol, SLS free, paraben free. We don't have comedogenic ingredients. Okay, our ingredients are plant sourced, which is pretty much vegetarian. Then we're gluten free when possible. So all of our products are gluten free, if you need to tell your client this, except for the smoothing serum. Okay, the products are all biodegradable. There's nothing funky in there that won't break down. And we refer to ourselves as technician strength. That way we're not saying we're medical grade and all of that stuff that is kind of on the edge of what we shouldn't be saying. So any questions about that, feel free to just keep typing your questions on the side, and I will get to them a little bit later, okay? So the next thing I wanted to talk about is drop technology. This is another way that we can come into integrity with our clients and really show them the value in making their purchase. So drop technology is basically our explanation for the amount of product to use in an easy to understand image. The drop size is on the back of your bottle, okay? So you can turn the back of your bottle while you are showing that to your client, and they're going to get right away like, oh, that's how little I need. Oh, yeah, okay, I can see that this cleanser is going to last me 6 months. That's different. The cleansers are pretty thick, and you'll notice that right away for some of you that have not ordered the product. The drop size is on the bottle, and they'll see the value. You can tell your clients also, again, you can demonstrate to them. When I started this brand, I used to take my clients down to the sink, down the hall, and I would have them wash their hands with the cleanser, which is kind of a weird thing to do, but I wanted them to see how thick the cleanser was and how easily it basically foamed up. So that is a very quick way for them to feel the product and know how how much it's really going to clean for them by showing them that little drop. So if you have a sink in your room, even better. But I was actually walking them down the hall because in San Francisco, those of you that have been here, we're in like a kind of old building, and so we're showing a sink. But also, it just kind of drives the point home for them that there's going to be more efficacy than like an MLM product or a drugstore or a department store brand. So if you show that to your clients during your product presentation, you're going to be like guaranteed, I would say, to increase your sales and sell your products to the right clients, of course. So the other thing that I really want to point out is we're free of nasty ingredients, but we're also free of bad behaviors, such as animal testing. Animal testing is not a necessity anymore. So, for example, I've never sold my products in China because in China, it's required that you test on animals, and I am not interested in doing that. So, we won't be doing that anytime soon. And the products, you're not going to have like any, I would say, objections. We call this in sales objections. So sometimes you get a client, especially in San Francisco, where they're a vegan or a vegetarian, and they will say, I will only buy organic, I will only buy vegan, I will only buy vegetarian, I need gluten-free, all of that stuff. We've kind of handled the objections. So it's another way of driving that point home by letting your clients know that the products are mostly vegetarian, knowing your ingredients, knowing which products have dairy in them. But here's the other thing that's really interesting. So not only do we not use animal ingredients for our retail, but our L-lactic acid is completely sustainable because it's made in the lab. So that's really important. It's not sourced from a cow. It's made in the lab. We literally have that technology. Isn't that cool? So you can tell your clients that too. And personally, like for me, I eat meat and I drink milk, but I don't believe in using animals for our vanity because it's not like required to live. So our packaging is phthalate free, okay, and we are also fragrance free, so that's also phthalate free. And our plant-based surfactants are coconut and like cane sugar for the most part. The products are water-based. They usually go into the skin. I mean, if your client has a lot of oil, that's a different deal. But for most clients, they're going to go right into the skin versus sitting on it. So if your client is used to a really waxy product, that's not really something that we do. So that's really important when you're working with a client because they may feel like, ooh, I'm dry at first. They're not dry. Maybe they went off a product that was waxy and heavy and they just weren't used to like the feeling of their real skin. And I think it's important to actually know what your real skin feels like rather than putting a mask on every day. I think it's a little deceptive to put a ton of heavy stuff in products. All right, we're going to skip past this slide. We're having a little bit of technical issues today, so bear with us, guys. But I've got Ivan sitting next to me, and there might be some interesting stuff that pops up. So, okay. I also wanted to talk to you guys about where the educational opportunities will be with this product. So please let us know if you're interested in conference calls. They don't always have to be webinars. Sometimes if it's easier for people to do conference calls, I can do this once in a while. Obviously, we're going to be doing webinars. I also suggest following us on social media, connecting me on LinkedIn, et cetera, et cetera. So your rep, if you have one, they can meet with you on site if they're in your area, okay? That would just be up to you guys. And, you can request like on-site evening events with them. I mean, not evening events necessarily, but just events with them. And then we can set up certain orders for that, okay? So I would say follow us on all social media. That way you're seeing videos on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, okay? So let's talk a little bit about chirality. So we touched on it before. Chirality is really interesting because there are a lot of naysayers out there. And I think what it is they either don't have an understanding of what it does or they don't want to spend money, to be honest. So, the product that we make is pretty expensive. So it's taken us 4 years to kind of like get to this point because it's super expensive to do. And it's also the reason why we don't have an eye cream or sunblock, because it's very expensive. So what we're doing when we're chirally correcting a product is we're pretty much making it in a lab, or we're separating it out in a lab, just depending on what we're doing. And we're keeping the side that is appropriate for the skin, that's going to actually mirror the cell receptor and like snap into it. Okay, so when you have a chirally correct product, some people will say, oh, it's a chemical. Well, yeah, it's a chemical, but it's a chemical that exists in nature. So you cannot tell the difference. On my Instagram, I believe I posted something about like a synthetic diamond versus a natural diamond. And a synthetic diamond is made in the lab, but it's literally identical to a natural diamond. And so it doesn't really matter if it looks the same and it has the same effect on the skin, the source being from a plant. In this case, when we're trying to get the efficacy, in all honesty, it doesn't matter. This is not the same thing as eating clean. This product is a very clean product because, again, when you're working with an FDA compliant lab, if you have a issue with an assay with a raw supplier, it doesn't even wind up in the product. So technically speaking, it could actually be cleaner than a product that is saying that it's organic, you know? So it could just be much cleaner depending on who that organic supplier is and if that product really is chemical free. Sometimes the handmade guys, like, they don't really know. So okay, so aside from that, aside from being cleaner, which is just one thing, you can increase the like antioxidant values of certain things if you're chirally correcting them. You can basically increase like cell renewal. You can increase collagen and elastin. You can reduce like free radical formation. You can be cleaner. You can decrease side effects. That was the biggest thing when chirality hit the industry in a big way. Side effects and irritation went down considerably. There are millions of chiral receptors in your skin, and they are affected by what you put on your skin. Okay. Here is a picture of 2 nanometers of a basic amino acid. Okay, and then on the right side you have the D, let's say, molecule. Okay, and on the left side you have the L molecule. Those of you who have not studied chirality, the word chiral is Greek. And on the right-hand side here, where we say dextro, that's literally the Greek word for right. And then on the left-hand side, sorry, I'm just trying to work something on my screen here. On the left-hand side, we have levo, and that is I'm sorry, these are Latin words, actually. And that is the Latin word for left, okay? No, I apologize. These are both Greek words, but they come from Latin words. So you can look up, I believe the Latin word for right-handed is dexter, and the Latin word for levo is like levo. So you guys can Google that real quick if you want to see it. So what it really is when you have chirality is you have a molecule that has identical sides, but the cell receptor is one-sided. So you have to have like that little puzzle piece that's snapping into the cell receptor that's communicating with the skin and telling it what to do. So an example of this would be we have L-bisabolol in several of our products. We've got it in sustenance. We have it in smoothing serum. We have it in porcelain peel as well. Why do I love that ingredient so much? Because it controls inflammation. It's actually identical to the L-bisabolol that's in chamomile, but when it's in chamomile and you pick a flower, what's actually in that flower is a DL molecule. The molecule has not been separated yet. So this is why L-bisabolol is much more effective than just putting straight chamomile on the skin. It doesn't mean chamomile is bad for the skin. Chamomile is a great ingredient. But when we have the L, and let's say we were going to make a product that was specifically for very allergic people, right? it would be wiser to select the L-bisabolol, because if a person has like a pollen allergy, you know, and you're putting the whole flower in there, you could have issues. If you pull out the L-bisabolol, I don't think anybody, you know, could be allergic to it at this point. They don't even have allergy tests for an ingredient like that, because it's just not something that's very common. So, you know, it would just be a safer bet that you're going to have a higher, I mean, we're definitely going to have a higher efficacy, but you're really going to have a better result from a clinical approach. Okay.
Did you do it that way?
I'm sorry? Okay, never mind. Oh, I heard someone. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the product. Okay, so let's see. First, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about our cleansers. The thing about our cleansers is, I want to drive this point home. So we have that little drop on the back of the bottle. That little drop is the amount that you need to use. The cleanser is low lather, and it's all across the board. They're low acid. Of course, the brightening wash does not have acid. Yes, can everyone please, Bernadette is right. Can you guys please mute your microphones? If you press mute on your phone, that will be really helpful, because then we can all hear. That would be great. Thanks so much. Okay, so our cleansers are low lather. They are low acid, and this makes them ideal for sensitive skin. Even our exfoliating wash, which is back in stock, by the way, it's not your typical harsh exfoliating product, okay? Again, we're using some cane sugar derived surfactants and coconut. So it's not going to be super harsh on the skin, and it's going to be very effective for all types of skin conditions, because it has some gentle enzymes that are breaking everything down. So that's an example of why that particular wash is different than some of the other products, right? So the other thing is we're going to go into the products individually. So let's just talk about the brightening wash first. The brightening wash is our cleanser for really, like, I would say sensitive skin that also has issues with pigmentation. The interesting thing about this wash is it's actually a little bit of a degreasing product. That's really important to know, because if you want to get someone prepped for a porcelain peel, this product will actually remove more oil. It doesn't strip the skin. It just happens to remove more oil, because it's got some herbs in it. Okay, it's a little on the astringent side. It has like raspberry extract, I want to say. So it's going to basically clarify the skin a little bit without drying it out. And it's got a little bit of carnitine. Carnitine is really interesting, because you can increase cell renewal with this cleanser, but without having acid on the skin. So it's appropriate pre-peel, it's appropriate post-peel, and most importantly, it's appropriate all summer long, because you're going to be in the sun, and you can't, you know, if your client's going to be in the sun, not us, we're estheticians, right? But our clients that are going to go to Cabo and do their thing, they can still take this wash, because it's not going to cause a sun sensitivity. So we also have some Tyrostat in this product, and Tyrostat's really interesting. It's a skin brightening and lightening ingredient, and it's basically a tyrosinase inhibitor. So I mean, I love using this wash right before a peel, because I feel that it can kind of inhibit some of the pigmentation that could occur. Even though we don't have this problem, I think it's because we do this step. So I like to do like the exfoliating and gentle wash maybe first, and then do the brightening wash right before doing the peel. It also smells amazing, and you can't go wrong with it, because it will last your client forever. I want to say my average client is getting almost 6 months out of it. It's going to depend. So the gentle wash is a low lather product, but we call it a luxury wash, because it's such a feel good product for sensitive skin. Sensitive skin will typically feel soothed. It has mangosteen in it, and it's okay for dry skin, even though it's foaming. We do not have any of the like oil cleansers. We don't do oil cleansing, and we don't do cream cleansing. So we have a touch of salicylic. It's very small. It's like less than 1%. Okay. And then we have the non-dairy lactic acid. We have a little bit of yogurt in here because it has some like minerals that we want for the skin. So it's going to help a lot with the skin's immunity would be our goal. Okay. And here's some more detail about the Gentle Wash. So the Gentle Wash has, like, I want to say it's a 0.5% salicylic acid, 1% lactic. It's got the yogurt. It has the mangosteen, and then it has the raspberry fruit extract. That is one of the ingredients that's going to actually clean the skin as well. So you don't have to clean everything with a surfactant. You can actually use raspberry fruit extract as an astringent. Okay, so let's go back to the exfoliating wash. So the exfoliating wash it's actually known for being probably our gentlest wash because it feels like you're power washing your skin. For those of you that haven't tried it, it really breaks down like those little bumps that are, corners of your mouth, I would say you could probably prevent or slow down the formation of things like closed comedones, milia, open comedones, non-inflamed acne really benefits from this, as well as inflamed acne. I've even seen people with conditions that scale up, such as eczema, for example, or like folliculitis. This is very beneficial for those conditions as well. It can really help. Um, so whether or not you're trying to break down, folliculitis or kind of break down pigments or get some results with breakouts, it will pretty much do anything that will respond to resurfacing the skin because it's like a resurfacer. I tell my clients it's like a little mini daily peel in a bottle, sans the inflammation. So. What's really incredible about this wash is the cranberry extract. To me, that's the top ingredient, that and the pomegranate enzymes. Because pomegranate enzymes are actually soothing to the skin and they provide like a probiotic effect for the skin because it's a ferment. So now we also have pomegranate extract in here, which is another potent antioxidant. In my opinion, I think the cranberry is stronger because it actually sort of retards the growth of like bacteria, viruses, and I want to say fungus, like pretty much anything that wants to try and live there that shouldn't be living there. Anything that's going to support your skin's microbiome is going to be more effective. Okay, perfect. So we fixed our technical issues. Woo! Yay. Okay, so let's talk about these mists. So there's two types that are needed. We don't need to tone the skin. This is really important. Toning the skin, I'm actually a little surprised when companies use that term, only because to tone the skin, traditionally, and I'm not disagreeing with anyone's brand, but for me, the reason why I didn't use the word tone is because when you tone the skin, traditionally, that actually meant that you were restoring the pH of the skin after throwing the pH off. So this is why some of the department store products, like those 3-step products, this is why they need a toner, because they're stripping the skin, they're removing a lot of the bacteria and oil, and they're basically needing to tone it to bring it back to balance. So we're not unbalancing the skin, so we don't need to tone it. These two products are functional products only. Hi guys, if you're just joining, please mute yourself. If you guys can mute yourself, that would be great, because I can hear some stuff in the background. Everybody, please make sure that you press mute on your phone, okay? Thank you. Okay, so I still can hear somebody, so if you guys can just mute your phones, that would be fabulous. Okay, so let's talk about some of the featured ingredients for the Spray On Moisture. So the Spray On Moisture is comprised of, I would say, four main ingredients, one of which I didn't put here accidentally. So it's D2O, hyaluronic acid, FOS, which is fructooligosaccharides, and the other one is witch hazel. So I don't know why I didn't put that here, but it's just not here. So D2O, I would say, is a really heavy hitter because D2O has a heavy molecular weight to it. So when it goes on the skin, it actually goes and pushes itself deeper into the skin. So this prevents tool, but the other thing is it's actually driving those other ingredients into the skin on a deeper level. Now, we also put some hyaluronic acid in this product, but here's the thing. When you spray it and you rub your fingers together, you're not going to feel any slip because we don't recommend hyaluronic acid serums on a daily basis because depending on the molecular weight of the hyaluronic acid, there's many different types, but depending on the weight, you can pull moisture out of the skin. So we don't really recommend that for a daily basis. I love it for a treatment, but I don't think that you need it on a daily basis in such a high level. So we have it in this product because it will help the skin to attract more water because of that. But the D2O is actually going in and hydrating the skin and bringing that ingredient into the skin versus settling on top of the skin. So for us, I think that's a great distinction to make, especially to your clients as well, because they all have a HA serum at this point. So now this is really important. So our next ingredient is such a big deal, and I think you're going to see it more in products because of all of the research and development around products for the human microbiome, which is heavily being studied right now. So there's companies like Megaspore Biotic, which I talked about in the group. There's companies like Ubiome providing smart gut kits and starting to research what are the bacteria that we're missing, as they think that basically holds the key to some of our health issues, if not, many. So, basically what fructooligosaccharides are is they're an insoluble fiber. And they are a carbohydrate that good bacteria loves to eat. So it's kind of like giving your good bacteria fish food, essentially, and keeping it healthy. And when you keep the good bacteria on your skin healthy, it will essentially fight the bad guys for you. Okay, and then we have a little bit of borage seed oil, which is a nice essential fatty acid, which can help a lot with inflammation. So now our next product is the Luminous Peel Prep. The Luminous Peel Prep is a way to wean our clients off of heavy-duty glycolics. Like if your client's like, glycolic every 5 minutes, and you are wanting to get them off, the 7 products that they're using that all have glycolic, this is one way of weaning them off because it's not a very strong glycolic. It's about a 2%, and it's sugarcane extract. So it's going to give them a little bit of a sticky feeling at first when they haven't been accustomed to using a product like this. But the sugarcane extract is like a humectant for the skin. So we don't want to strip the skin and then just leave it dry. Well, I even use this on acne clients. For acne clients, I will literally say, I don't want you to use a moisturizer for a month or two. If they're just like oil, I want them to use the spray-on moisturizer. So they'll use the spray-on moisturizer, and they'll use it after they use this Luminous Peel Prep. The Luminous Peel Prep is basically there to, get the product in on a deeper level. So, and I apologize for the little spelling issue up top. Just seeing that now. Okay, so let's talk about our serums, because this would be our next logical step in our protocol. So we have 2 serums, and we have the ability to support CIT therapy, but also the ability to do like hydroquinone-free brightening now. So if we start to use a serum like, let's say, little issue here. Okay, so if we start to use a serum like the smoothing serum, Well, the smoothing serum is fabulous because it's an oil that's driving in the retinol, which is not retinol. For those of you who haven't worked with retinol, retinol is retinaldehyde. Um, and the delivery of it is a little different. Typically goes into the skin through a fat right now in terms of formulating. That's kind of how it's happening. So we're using some Iconic A, and Iconic A is the key driver for that particular ingredient. So, and it's basically like right now it's the least inflammatory vitamin A. To be honest, you'd have to use a ton of it to see any redness or peeling. It just provides smoother skin day after day, which is why we called it the smoothing serum. The other thing is we have some a natural UVA screening compound. I typically right now, I don't necessarily suggest using it during the day, even though the IUs that enter the body are like way lower than what was actually tested for vitamin A. I still like to err on the side of caution. So, one of the reasons why the HelioGuard is in there, because as new research comes out, I suspect that people may eventually make the suggestion to use it twice a day. So if you are going to use it twice a day, just make sure that you put your sunblock on. I always tell my clients, wear a hat as well, especially if you're doing anti-aging treatments and you're going to be like walking around outside. So we do have the L-carnitine in this product as well. Again, for cell turnover, we have the L-bisabolol. Again, that's that ingredient that we were talking about when we were talking about the chiral molecule. So that is a chamomile-derived ingredient. We're using the L form, which is the left side. Okay. It's a potent anti-inflammatory, great wound healer, reduces sensitivity, so it can be helpful for people that have lots of inflammatory conditions on the skin, and it doesn't seem to irritate people that have rosacea, for example. In fact, our next ingredient, which is niacinamide, because this works on the barrier function and because it's anti-inflammatory, it can help with red and sensitive skin conditions as well. The drop that's on the back of this bottle is tiny. It's actually, probably as you look at your screen, it's about the size of one of those little bullets there. So they won't need a lot of product. They can use more. They can really use a whole serum, and it won't irritate their skin. I just think at that point, they're kind of throwing away their money because the serum is bright yellow. So I tell my clients, you'll know when you're using too much because it's bright yellow. So if they can see that their face is yellow, they probably need to use a little bit less. So the Luminous Serum is a really interesting product. So the Luminous Serum is it has 6 brightening ingredients, and after about a month of use, it has a really profound whitening effect on the skin, but it's brightening. So there's not going to be like a line of demarcation from where the serum ends and the rest of their body begins. It's typically going after pigment, uneven skin tone, PIH, things like that. We called it luminous because it definitely gives the skin a glow. So let's go ahead and talk about our creams. So the creams are really interesting. So the creams are basically like, they're a butter-based product. Sorry guys, we're missing something here. Okay, sorry. You know what? I'm gonna go back a sec because I skipped over something. Let's go into the ingredients for the Luminous Serum. So we have some glucosamine, resorcinol-based ingredients. We have a mushroom extract as well as a licorice extract, and then we have a superfood. So you'll notice across the board in all of these products that there's like an antioxidant, a superfood. There's usually going to be at least one brightener in all the products, but for this particular product, there is literally 6 brighteners in it. So when you're comparing it to the Luminous Cream, and your client's saying, well, why is the Luminous Serum $110 and the Luminous Cream is like $95? The reason why is more brighteners, okay? I'm not going to say one is better than the other. but the serum is definitely more concentrated. So you could feel that it gives more of a brightening effect. If someone has pigmentation, I'm going to recommend that they use both products. Okay. So let's go ahead and talk about some of those ingredients. Um, Now, the glucosamine, which is the first ingredient, a lot of people don't know this, but it's a pigment lightening ingredient. It really has a tyrosinase um, inhibitor in it because of that. So it's basically going to, for those of you that don't know what a tyrosinase inhibitor is, it's basically going to hold back this enzyme reaction that is causing more pigmentation and not allow it on a certain level. It's not going to shut it down completely, but it's going to make a big difference in some of the new pigment that wants to come to the surface. So then we have Sim White. That's also a tyrosinase inhibitor. Okay. Then we have a mushroom extract. Some mushroom extracts can be natural skin lighteners. This is not our ingredient that's doing the heavy lifting, okay? But it's a way of adding some of the natural ingredients in so that we can use a little bit less of some of the other things, okay? So, and then we have alga white. This is really interesting. The name obviously comes from brown algae, but they have a lot of studies on this. So if you do some research online, you'll be able to see what they've been testing for this particular ingredient. So they found that the skin was more clear and more, quote unquote, luminous from this particular ingredient, and that's why we're using it. And then we have some licorice, particular acid from licorice. This is not an exfoliating acid, but an anti-inflammatory acid, kind of similar to HA. HA is like hydrating, I would say, and this particular ingredient is anti-inflammatory. Because of the anti-inflammatory component to it, it's actually suppressing pigment that's coming with that. Post-peel, I love to use some of the serums on the skin because it cuts down a little bit of that burn, but it also helps to prevent pigment from coming to the surface. It's a form of insurance for that, I would say. Then we have amla fruit extract. It's a superfood. It's antioxidants. This is an ingredient that you can get and take internally. So it's a pro-collagen ingredient as well. All right, so we're going to talk about our creams. Um, our creams are based in butters for the most part, butters or oils, and we have one that's kind of clay-based actually, which was a little switch that we did about 3 years in. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So in the creams, we have stem cells, superfoods, and we have a low-dose retinol. Which cream you're going to choose is going to depend on the client that you're working with. For example, the Day and Night Moisture is formulated with a lot of great anti-inflammatories. It smells really beautiful too because we have some cranberry in that as well. It has a nice like cranberry smell. And we have allantoin, which is basically something that will encourage like cell renewal but also reduce redness. Okay, so so we have also in that product. Now this is where we're missing some slides, you guys. So my apologies. So I'm going to be working off another screen. Can you guys mute your phones, please? Somebody just came on. I can hear it. Okay, so um, we have FOS that we talked about earlier, which is also in this brown moisturizer. That's in this product. The FOS is really important for those of you that are just joining us. It's really important to assist the microbiome on your skin and basically rebuild the barrier on your skin. So this moisturizer is typically recommended for people that have barrier issues, rosacea, sensitivity. I had a client just tell me she was using it on folliculitis. It actually helped with that because of the FOS. Because the FOS are going to stimulate cell turnover because they're actually feeding the good bacteria that is causing that effect on the skin. When we don't have good bacteria, we have a barrier issue. cell turnover for some people can be sped up to the point where the barrier is degrading, or it can be increased depending on what you're doing and what you're working with. So either way, FOS will help put the skin back into balance. You can buy, those of you that want to try FOS to see how potent it is, you can buy it at the health food store, and you can actually take it with like a glass of juice every night. I don't suggest taking too much of it because it's very effective on your digestive system. So you can try it, and in one spoonful you will know right away. It's a very effective ingredient. So tocumin is a very potent antioxidant mixture. These are basically like tocopherols, like vitamin E, tocotrienols, like fabulous antioxidants that are kind of on the expensive side because they're actually being made in a lab. You know, we could just do vitamin E, but it wouldn't have the same effect. Then we have the cranberry fruit extract. Again, totally antimicrobial. It's got some antiviral and antifungal components. Then we have totol, which is from the very expensive totol tree, and it's a potent like antibacterial. Okay, so that has some antioxidant properties as well. It's pretty pricey, so that's why a lot of lines don't use it. And then we have allantoin, which is, as you know, like soothing, moisturizing, skin softening, promotes healthy renewal, etc., etc. So we refer to totol and tocumin as kind of like next-gen type antioxidants. Typically, your client will not come in saying that they have heard of these ingredients. Okay, so now we have the nighttime cream. The nighttime cream, I would say, in terms of our moisturizers for anti-aging, this is your heavy hitter. This is definitely going to be your moisturizer for your client who has a few lines and wrinkles and probably is a little bit on the dry side even. Now, having said that, remember that there's a little drop on the bottle. And that's really important because we don't suggest slathering your face in this cream because it's overkill. You can use a drop or maybe two and mix it with a little bit of water. But it's basically like a frothy feeling cream. It's like coconut juice, shea butter based, and we have some echinacea stem cells. So that can help a little bit with collagen. And it has like an HGH effect on the skin. People will feel that their skin rejuvenates when they start using this product. We also have the micro encapsulated retinol, and this will actually increase the elasticity of the skin and decrease wrinkle depth. And they have some studies on microencapsulated retinol, which is a common ingredient that we all know about it. I would say that in this product, the three most effective ingredients are cocosin, which is coconut water based. It's basically almost like an HGH or stem cell type ingredient, the way that it works. It's like a tonic too because it promotes healthy cell growth and it supports blood circulation. The reason why this ingredient is so important is because coconut juice is identical to human plasma. So the body knows exactly what to do with it. And in some countries, they actually use it for IVs when people get dehydrated. Now, we also have echinacea stem cells. This will like kind of be revitalizing to the skin. And because it's echinacea, it's kind of one of those ingredients that will, I would say, boost the immunity of the skin a little bit. It's an interesting conversation about meristematic stem cells, which we'll talk about for a little bit, because there's not a lot of research on them yet. But we see that they're doing things, and they are being tested, but there's not too much research on them because it's kind of, I would say, not being really widely used, except for maybe the last couple of years, and a lot of lines still don't use plant stem cells. I think that's another differentiator. There's a lot of animal stem cells out there, which I think is fine. But if you don't want to use animals in your products, this is a really great alternative. So if you guys want, you can also email me for an article that I wrote that has some more information on these stem cells. So The third ingredient that is the, I would say, top heavy hitter here is the chronocycline. Chronocycline is a peptide. And the thing that is so cool about this peptide is that it basically understands circadian genetic rhythms. And what that means is that when you use this product at night and you sleep, it's optimizing its own anti-aging benefits. So, you use it at night and it actually increases your skin's defense during the day, because essentially you're kind of turning back the time a little bit. The other thing that's really unique about this peptide is it's designed to kick in and work even if you don't sleep that well. So even if you're lying in your bed tossing and turning, ideally it's going to, with consistent use, it's going to kind of support you so that you have less of like an aging effect from not sleeping. So some people will say, okay, I look less tired, people who don't sleep well. So I think that's really fascinating, actually. But those of you that haven't tried this product, when you order it, just be aware that you really only, on most skins, you probably only need a drop. I only need a drop, so let's talk about the Luminous cream. So the Luminous cream is a really interesting product because I would say this is probably the closest to like a medical brightener. The reason why is it's a gel-based moisturizer. It's not like a cream. It's more of a gel. So the thing that I like about it being so close to like a gel, like serum consistency, is that it goes right into the skin. However, it doesn't make the skin feel dry. It's actually a pretty luxurious product. It inhibits the activation of melanocytes. And it's basically going to reduce pigmentation. It's going to reduce, like different types of spots, like PIH, things like that. It doesn't matter really what it's coming from, to be honest. But if the skin wants the pigment, whether it's melasma or various types of pigmentation, even if it's like a red or purpley type of pigmentation that Fitzpatrick 3 and below experience, like after acne and stuff, it actually helps a little bit with that type of pigmentation. Reduces redness a little bit too. So this contains lipobrites. That's also a skin lightener found in plants. Okay, and then we have Luminous Skin, which is debolding. So that's a D right-handed molecule. It's lightening. Again, we're going to have tyrosinase inhibition there as well. Then we have a DNA mitochondrial protector, which is DNase, is what it's called. But it's really an extract of Cassia alata. So you guys can do some research online. And I know that some people, I believe, take a little bit of this internally as well. Some of the anti-aging people. I want to say Susan Summers might be one of them. I'm trying to rack my brain on that. Now, the final ingredient that I'm going to go out on a limb and say is most effective here is the kombucha. So as you know, this is a black tea ferment. For people that can handle black tea ferment and drinking it, they have noticed that the skin brightens whether you put it on the skin or whether you drink it. I mean, don't drink this product, but if you drink kombucha, I just had to say that. For legal reasons, I'm just kidding. Okay, so it's a fermentation of sweet black tea, and it's basically, those of you that have ever made it from the SCOBY, it is a symbiotic relationship of microorganisms. And what's so cool about it is there is a serious anti-glycation activity here. So this particular moisturizer, because it has the kombucha in it, it's fantastic for people that have like pre-diabetes and diabetes. I am not saying that it cures anything. However, diabetics have a huge propensity to pigment, and this makes all the difference in the world. I've seen it. So let's go on to our next product. But I finally want to say about Luminous Cream is it actually works on like dull skin or sallow skin as well. And if someone has non-inflamed acne, they can actually use this product and achieve some brightening as well. So we have a product called Detox Mask and Cream. Now, we started selling this product as just a mask, but I had some clients that were breaking out, and I think this was before I launched the peel. I kind of had to get creative because I was like not liking what was on the market for acne, but wanting to get the client's results. And the Detox Mask and Cream, it has a little drop on the bottle, which is not so much for the mask, but that's for if your client wants to use it as a cream. It feels really minty. It feels really clean. And it's kind of on the luxurious side because it smells amazing. There's like 2 types of clay. It's kaolin, bentonite. There's passion flower. So we have this nice anti-aging effect. And there's also the cranberry extract. So we have a little bit of salicylic because there's some white willow in it. You might feel a little tingle when you put it on from the salicylic, but it's below a 1%. And then we also have the D-alpha tocopherol as well. So that's going to actually decrease the amount of preservatives, but improve the stability of the product and also provide an antioxidant to the skin. So we have kaolin and bentonite, tons of minerals in this, as you know, from clay. Clay is still one of the best ingredients that we can use on our skin because it's a great thing that we can actually use as a whole ingredient because it inhibits a lot of bacteria and it pulls a lot of impurities from the skin. It will also even decrease like redness, I would say. It's very anti-inflammatory. And it's not necessarily drying, but it'll give you a little bit of an oil change if you need it. If you're going to use it as a mask, I would apply it, leave it for like 10-15 minutes, or apply a light layer and sleep in it, or apply just a little drop with water for like daytime use or just moisturizer use. So it can be a moisturizer or a cream. So this is just a picture. I put it up on Instagram. One of our technicians, one of our sort of renters actually, that was carrying the product, she took this picture after about 6 weeks of home care for this client. So there's a little bit of an improvement, I would say. I don't know, I think it was a few months. Yeah, I think it was 6 to 8 weeks. And it's a little bit of improvement. And you can see that everything is starting to decrease just from home care. I want to say this client did just a few facials, didn't even do any of our pigments, but with the home care, her skin improved considerably, especially because she was coming off of like drugstore products. She was a drugstore skin type. I hate to say that, but that first skin in that top picture, the before picture, that is typically what we see when we have someone that's never done professional treatments before. So the improvement for her was just like stunning because she really needed it, especially. As you know, based on age, the results that you can attain, take a little longer. But this client is young enough. I believe she was in her late 20s, actually. So, for late 20s, the skin is really not looking good. But in the 30s, I would say she's probably doing all right. And we can obviously push that a little more for her and try and get more brightening as time goes on. So let's talk a little bit about our professional treatments. Now, the porcelain peel, I developed because I'll give you guys a little bit of backstory. Sometimes I talk about this still because it was a really unique experience. I actually was diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease when I was 31, yeah. And I went through like 3 years of treatment. During that time, I could not put anything on my skin. I was on a ton of antibiotics. I was on like 12 other medications, and I was super toxic. And my skin, I feel like it aged 5 years during that time. So didn't do any peels. Actually had to use dial soap on my whole body and my face for a couple of years because it was the only thing that I could handle. It was a very interesting experience. So when I came out, from that experience a few years later, I was really, really wanting to get back into peels, but for whatever reason, after that experience, my skin was never really able to tolerate some of the harsher peels that I used to be able to do with no problem. So I could no longer do like the peels that give me sheets of peeling. My skin couldn't tolerate it. I was getting burns and I was getting pigmentation for the first time in my life, which I think was from inflammation. And safely, I'm going to say that it was somewhat connected to my liver because during the treatment, my liver enzymes had gone up, which is why I had to stop taking the antibiotics. So it was interesting because that was when I started creating this peel and started testing this peel. And I was like, I need something that will work on me, and I want something that's a little bit different. So I basically created a peel that used a ton of natural ingredients, as well as some, lab-made lactic acid. I wanted it to be chirally correct, and I wanted the kombucha in again. So I also added diatoms into the peel to like gently polish and remove the surface buildup. And the diatoms will also buff the skin as well. So they'll buff the skin, but actually, you know what? They will absorb some of the impurities in the skin because they're considered, like an ingredient that will like trap, I would say, toxins, if you will. So we have like a 4% lactic acid. It's not a high lactic acid, but when you consider the fact that it's chirally corrected, it's so much more potent than like a 10% that's not chirally corrected. And even though it's more potent, that means it's more brightening. It doesn't mean it's more inflammatory. It just means that it's more brightening for the skin. Then we also have squalene. Ours is from olives. It is not the conflict squalene that everybody talks about. We also have some jojoba beads, and the jojoba beads will basically break down and dissolve in the skin. Okay, so the jojoba beads will gently buff the skin but dissolve. When you're done with the peel, you're probably going to have to rinse off the diatoms. We also have actual chamomile in this product. This confuses some people because they're asking, why do we have chamomile, but then also bisabolol? So the reason why is chamomile is actually put in this product to be an exfoliant, but also to be used for color. So that's why it's there. We were originally going to go with a chamomile color with powdered chamomile, and then we decided to change that. So, excuse me. Okay, so we have the chamomile, and then we also have the alpha bisabolol. The reason why we have the bisabolol, which again is from chamomile, is so that when you stop massaging this peel and you add some more water, you actually feel a cooling effect. That's the bisabolol. It's that anti-inflammatory. It actually feels like someone's blowing a fan on you. It's very interesting. Now, we have moringa seed oil. This is going to feel like really luxurious to the skin. It has some like blemish reducing properties to it, but it's actually going to feel really comforting on the skin. And we have some aloe in this product as well. I would say like these are the heavy hitters. We also have some neem. It's soothing. It's cleansing. It's great for some sensitive skin conditions too. So you can begin to see why this peel doesn't have any downtime, because it's so beneficial that technically, if we were doing this peel, we could probably make it a mask if we just left it on the skin and didn't want to move it around. So there's a couple different ways to do it. You could apply it, let it sit, add water, you could massage it. You could also use a tiny bit of product and do a little 1-minute scrub during a facial. You could also use a generous helping of the peel, and you could buff the skin. I don't suggest doing this to brand new client. I do suggest as an esthetician trying the 40-minute protocol. The 40-minute protocol is putting this product on your skin and just massaging it, dipping your fingertips in the water for up to 40 minutes or until all the cream feels like it's kind of gone into the skin. If you decide to do this protocol, be sure not to rub too hard. The goal is not to rub yourself. The goal is really to buff away the dead skin and get the savolol in there so that you're controlling inflammation, but get like the brighteners, the kombucha in there. The lactic acid is going to bottom out kind of quick because it's a peel, right? So it's going to kind of neutralize quick because we have water in our skin. So I would say that lactic acid is probably active for a few minutes tops. After that, what you're doing is massaging away the dead skin that the lactic acid in part contributed to, and then getting in like the kombucha. And that's what's really causing the brightening. So it's a way of doing a peel and doing a infusion at the same time. And this is what makes it so unique. So here is a picture that I took. I want to say this is more than a year old. This is a client, early 30s. I don't believe she's older than 31. As you can see, there is a before picture, there's an after picture, but the before picture, if you look at the lines on her forehead, they're much more pronounced than in the after picture. This is immediately after a treatment. For someone that basically has good skin, like I was like thinking to myself, let me see if I can get results on this client, because she basically has good skin. You know, she doesn't have anything really really sophisticated going on. And I was actually kind of surprised, you know, because I was like, oh, she's a great candidate for this. She just wanted to see some improvement. And it definitely is, you know, it's kind of obvious that it took a few years off. I mean, you know, she's 31, so it's not like we're going to make her look 12. But you can see a huge improvement in the texture and also the pigment. Obviously, she's a little pink afterwards, but you can see that it's kind of been buffed away, and I apologize for the spelling on the left. But this result was captured on the same day. So, okay, so let's move on to the next product. I don't recall if I did sustenance on her or not because it was still early days, but after the peel, whenever you peel the skin, you have essentially removed some of the microbiome, right? This is what we're talking about with the barrier. We've been calling it barrier. I just like to say microbiome at this point because that's what it is. It's a barrier comprised of cells. We have tons with trillions of cells in us, and only half of us is actually human DNA. So it's important to know that because there's a lot happening when we're doing a peel. But sustenance was something that was developed on accident. I needed a post-peel balm, and this is not it. So when I got this formula, I told the lab they'd made a really big mistake. And they were like, Rachel, it's a great product. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but I don't know how to use it. Like, I know the ingredients are sound. I didn't know how to use it, right? So one night, I do the 40-minute porcelain peel, and I'm trying it, and I moved around my skin, and I'm like, okay, that looks good. But, you know, I'm like, I'm still not clear on what the rest of this protocol is going to be. So my formulator is like, just try the sustenance and put it on as a mask. I did that, and I was like, okay, but it's not really going anywhere because it's a pretty thick and rich product. So if you put it on the skin's not going to absorb it. This is just not something that occurs. This is just not something that occurs. And so what you want to do is put it on your skin and add water to it. And when you do that and you massage it into the skin, it's a totally different effect. It will go into the skin and it will essentially like spackle the skin. One second, guys. Okay, I'm just looking on her. I'm looking at the website here. We're missing some information on this page. Okay, so the key features of this particular product is that, so it's got our bisabolol. It's got something called Olive M 1000. And Olive M 1000 is basically a It's basically an ingredient that's like spackle. It's like jojoba on the skin. And jojoba, as you know, is like a barrier. It's basically going to mimic like human lipids. And so it's really, really effective on the skin. So what we wanted to do with the sustenance was kind of like seal in and spackle the skin so that we're essentially putting a protective barrier on the skin. That's what it is. We almost called this product Human Shield because that's what it is. When we put these ingredients on the skin, we have a stem cell in there, which is gotu-kola. It's extremely firming. And we have basically some shea butter. We have some like olive oil. We have cacao seed butter. We have even some castor oil, which is nice and rich on the skin. That'll also reduce some inflammation as well. So we have some acacia gum, and we also have what's called a meristem cell culture. That's the same thing as vegan stem cells in many cases. That's the typical term for it. There's a lot of other terms that are coming out with to disguise when actually using a meristem, but honestly, at this point, this stage, if it's a vegan stem cell from a plant, it is going to be called a meristem, or it's going to be called a meristematic cell culture if you're working with a lab. So we do have some chamomile flower, and we have yeast amino acids as well to help a lot. So, and then we have noni extract, which is a fabulous ingredient, very, very antioxidant for the skin as well. But this is like a human shield that we put on the skin. It's not a balm. That's really important. I do get that question a lot from estheticians because they open the jar, they see that it's thick, they see the butters, and they go, ooh, it's a balm. But a true balm does not contain water. Okay, so that's just a distinction that I want to make for you guys. So it's not a balm, and it is not a product that we are going to sell to clients for home care. Okay, so let's talk about the nanofill. The nanofill, okay, one sec, guys. Let's go technical error here. Okay, so the nanofill is traditionally, this is really interesting. So I've been asked to hide this information, and eventually I'm going to have to, but we're still a small company. So nanofill is effectively a branch of microneedling, and I feel that that is something that needs to be shared because I think it's not being shared, and I think it's very important. So as you can see, these pens are similar to microneedling pens, right? So what do we do when we do nanofill? We switch out the tip, and we have a silicone tip that has all these little points on it, and we're essentially driving product into the skin by putting channels into the skin. We're only working in the stratum corneum. So if you're working on someone's forehead and they have very thin skin, it's important to know that their skin could be thinner than like 0.1 of a millimeter. That's a possibility. I have a 70-year-old client who has like the thinnest skin I've ever seen, and I've never seen anyone need numbing, but she has to come with numbing after nanofill. She has to come with numbing after nanofill. So she is my only client that has that issue. But if you draw blood, then you're going to have an issue. So we don't really want to do that, okay? Okay, so we traditionally refer to it as percutaneous needling, but it's not because it's not going to put a hole in the dermis. It's not going to draw blood. It is still a stamping machine. This is really important. I believe it is still collagen producing. However, I think it's based on what you're getting into the skin, not based on what you're doing to the skin. So that is the distinction. There is very little inflammation with this process. I would say it's still a little bit inflammatory because you're going to see some redness. And I believe that you're also seeing a wound healing cascade. However, this is the non-invasive version of that. And I think it can be administered by estheticians as well as medical professionals. So some of the benefits is it's virtually painless, unlike traditional needling. There's zero downtime. It may be an alternative to cosmetic injectables and lasers. It can help maintain results from treatments like the vampire facial, for example, or like Fraxel. When I educate my clients on what this does, I kind of tell them it's in that same vein. It is not going to be invasive like that, but it's in that same vein. So like if you're considering certain treatments, then I would like for sure look at doing something like nano needling first. And that is my sort of conversation that I have with my clients and where they can kind of have that aha moment and understand exactly what it does. It's not puncturing the dermis, it's not wounding the dermis, but it is definitely pushing stem cells and hyaluronic acid and improving brighteners into the skin. That's what we're doing. So the unique features of this machine would be that we have 5 speed settings, and when you're on the fastest setting, it could be like up to 12,000 stamps per minute. There's 81 little triangle shaped points on this device. They go up to 0.20 like millimeters. That's important to know because again, the skin on the forehead, where there's less subcutaneous fat, it could be thinner than 0.1 if you have an older client with a very thin skin. The tips for this are disposable. There is no way to sanitize them. You can't sterilize them. So just know that they are absolutely disposable when you're doing your pricing and factor that into your price, okay? There's plenty of contraindications for this just to be safe. It is a new procedure, but I still would say stay away from like autoimmune conditions, especially if they involve the skin. If someone has eczema, scleroderma, scars that are less than 6 months old that you're going to be going over, solar keratosis. Go back on that page. Sorry, guys. Autoimmune system dysfunction, or if you're nursing or pregnant. So, and then if you've had like, Lyme disease treatment, which is kind of like, I'm not going to say chemotherapy treatment because chemo is definitely its own animal, but it's just hitting your body hard with a lot of medications. When you have a client that is dealing with something like that, you really want to stay away from this treatment because it's going to ask the body to basically repair a wound that you're now creating. So, okay, so let's go on to our next slide. So what we have next is basically a picture of our client's face, and this is after 1 or 2 nanofills. I put this on my Instagram. So it's 1 or 2 nanofills, and this is kind of an average result for a thicker skin client that has the ability to produce a little bit of collagen. So you can see the scar on the left has diminished. The skin is plumper. We were likely also doing a porcelain peel on her because I typically do a nano and a porcelain package together, so you can see the pigmentation lightening. Even though CIT therapy can lighten pigmentation by itself, it won't cause 100% of that effect. So you're going to need to do some peels. I would not suggest just doing nanofills. I would definitely do some peels with it, okay? Okay, this product doesn't exist anymore, so we're going to take that off. Okay, so the next product that we have is a product that we add in to what we use for nanofill. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because this is the first product we're going to talk about. It's called Pure Base. So Pure Base is a foundational product for nanofill. We mix it together. I would say you put about 1/8 or 1/6 of a teaspoon in some water, maybe about a quarter of an ounce of water, something like that. Very, very small amounts. And let it sit. And then after about 10-15 minutes, you should be able to put a fan brush in it. And it's kind of looks like a hyaluronic acid serum. So the serum can be mixed and applied to the skin during treatment under a mask or used during nanofill for slip and to boost the skin hydration level. So we use this first. And we'll typically put sustenance underneath it. So we'll put sustenance underneath it. Then we'll put Pure Base on. with our fan brush. And then what we'll do is we'll do one of our additives. So now we're going to go back here to the Pure Mask. Now the Pure Mask is an additive that we can use if we want to increase the hydration of the skin. This is really important. If you make your serum really thin, it's fabulous for nano. If you make it thicker, it's a little better to steam, just as you would like with a collagen mask, because collagen is a hyper hydrator. So you could put the collagen in to your nano solution and put it on the skin and then put the steam on the skin. But just know that when the steam is on the skin for more than a few minutes, it's going to run. So I would say maybe 5 minutes tops on the steam, and then the skin is nice and kind of wet, and then it will continue to absorb some product. A lot of estheticians that I know use their LED machines with this clear mask on, and they find that it's effective. So it's going to depend on the manufacturer of your machine if you have one of those machines. But we are seeing some good results topping it off with LED. So it's really important also to talk about different types of ingredients that we have, because when we talk about like the pure base, well, the pure base is basically a wheat-free medium chain hyaluronic acid. This is what's making this gel. It's called a cushion gel in formulations, okay? So, you know, when we use the pure mask is a large molecule. So it's not going to go into the skin. Collagen is the largest molecule in the body, I believe. And it doesn't penetrate because the Daltons are too high. It's between like 5,000 and 9,000, something like that. It's going to depend on the type. But it's got to be much smaller than that to penetrate. So this is why I suggest that when you do the collagen, to do it with steam and add it in after, because there isn't really a point in trying to nano it into the skin. It's going to be a little better if you do it after, in my opinion. It's just our method, I would say. Then what we can do is add either remineralize or we can add something called superfood. So let's talk about remineralize first. Remineralize is fabulous for like a red skin, okay? And, you know, it's basically created in concept in relation to the paleo diet. The reason why is it has something called humic acid in it. Humic acid is a form of fossilized dirt. And the skin can actually revive from this kind of like ancient compost, if you will. It has a ton of minerals in it. It's related to more mud, things like that. It's supercharged, and it can really be very brightening for the right skin. If you have a very dull skin, it can be seriously brightening. So that's why we add it after too, because it's black. And because it's black, it can stain a lot of things that you use with it, whether towels, brushes, etc., etc. So just know that it is pitch black. And for that reason, you don't need to add a lot because you're going to see the color right away, and you're going to know there's plenty in there. You'll know when you add too much because it's kind of like a dirt, and it'll feel like you kind of can't get it off. So humic acid is just one of the ingredients, but ascorbic acid is vitamin C. That's actually going to brighten the skin with melanocyte activity, and it's going to be really effective for post-inflammatory like pigmentation, for example. So there's some early studies on using it like right after CIT, and showing that it has some effectiveness in relationship to like PRP type results, which I think is interesting. Niacinamide is another ingredient in this, and it increases circulation and it flushes the skin. It increases cellular respiration, and I think that it's a great thing to have that ingredient in this particular product as well, because it's going to supercharge the product by increasing the activity of the skin, or the activity of the actual absorption. Okay. So those are the products that we have for now. I'm not going to talk about our new peel because we don't have all the data that we need on it yet. But as you guys know, there are new peels that are going to, one new peel actually that's going to be coming out in January, which I talked about a little bit. Okay. So one of the things that I wanted to go over a little bit is the different sizes that you can order with this brand. And the reason why is because sometimes it's a little hard to know, like, why would I get these 4 and 5 ml packages? But the reason why we sell these 4-packs is so that the estheticians, like when you guys are new and starting out with the brand, so that you guys can introduce your clients to the products in small doses. And we sell 4-packs. You can make your own like kits from them, for example. And we sell 4-packs of almost everything in the retail line. So we have like 4 mLs for our serums that you can buy. We have like 5 mLs for the sprays, and we have like 4 mLs for the creams, and then the washes are also 5 ml. So those come in those little 4-packs, okay, when you're starting out the line. And then this is just a picture showing you the different sizes. So the last one of the last things I want to tell you is a little bit about some of the perks for like some of you that are going to order the line and haven't before. It was really important to me as an esthetician not to have like expensive shipping. So our shipping is never more than $6.99. However, the shipping is free when you spend $7.50 or more. And then for those of you that want to do the nano, you actually get a free nano when you spend $2,500, which you can actually accrue. You don't have to plunk down and do a $2,500 order unless you're truly ready. So we don't have any minimums. We, again, minimums are not a requirement. We do have some buy-ins, and if from time to time we have bulk buys. Some of those are just available for additional savings on a seasonal basis. And then, of course, like the buy-in is something that you can do if you're interested in saving a little bit of money up front when you get started with this line. We do provide free samples starting with a $500 purchase, and we do not have any diversion or gray market issues. So that's really going to help you with the line. Sorry, guys, my dogs are crying over here. And we don't have any discounting of our peels. That's really important to us. So we don't discount the peels at all. And we don't allow our accounts to discount because we want to protect you guys. We don't allow product sales online, full price or discounted. And we do drop ship for you guys. So if you do have some interest in drop shipping or you're out of something, you can reach out to your rep or myself, and we can tell you guys how to do that. Our system does not collect your client's info, like email or anything when you do that. All you do is you go into your account and you simply change the shipping address. And then you bill your client on your end. So it's super simple, okay? So that's another option. And then, I think this is really important to just, I want to focus again on the diversion and gray market issues. I don't know if these are real issues or not, to be honest. I kind of doubt it because of how big of an issue it is. I've talked a lot about this in the group, but it's really important to me to not, have any discounting, because I think once you open that can of worms, it becomes highly problematic. So if you're carrying this line, you can post on your social media that you have it, and we have required pricing that you'd need to be at, okay? And, for people that are not in alignment with that, we won't allow them to order again. So that's really important because we've had, I would say, quite a few people maybe not understand that. But this is one of the reasons why you can make some money with this brand, because you can protect them, essentially. So we don't allow product sales online for a reason. Again, it's one of those things where once you open that up, it just becomes really hard to control. We're a small company, and we want to spend our time wisely, which is supporting you guys. So. Okay. So I really appreciate you guys coming today. If you have any questions, please go ahead and ask them. I'm just going to go over the special for today. I know a lot of you know that our Black Friday sale ended last night, so that code won't work anymore on the site. However, I believe there is going to be this code, freebie1, which is down at the bottom. If you do that particular code, it's going to allow you to buy 6 of one product and get one free. These are the retail products. We don't discount our professional products. So for the retail products that are like full-size products, you'll be able to do that today. We don't have that on like the samples or on the professional only products. So we don't do sample packs. So you'll get free shipping too. And the special will end tomorrow midnight on the 29th. Okay. And then I want to reiterate again, just so you're aware of events that we have like this, trainings, new videos that pop up. I would really suggest following the ModVellum Clinical page on Facebook, following us on Instagram, and like subscribing to the YouTube channel. That way you're not missing out on anything, because we have a lot of future plans for those things. Okay, and I really appreciate your time today. So if you guys have any questions, please go ahead and ask them. Yes, okay, so I'm going to look at some of the questions that you guys have been typing. And if you guys can unmute your phones, that might be helpful. But let's see. So it looks like I've got 2 Danielles. Yes, okay. Okay, I'm just looking. Okay, so it looks like the only question that we have. Yes, great for smokers, Derek. You're totally right. Although I don't know what product you're talking about. Okay, so for first-time client discounts are okay. This is really important. So you absolutely can do a first-time client discount. What you can't do, and where some people get confused, is you can't do a first-time client discount online and then mention ModVellum. People can shop by a hashtag and they can find you and they can find everything these days. So if you want to do first-time client discount, we suggest creating a name in which you're private labeling the peel and not disclosing maybe what it is if you're going to discount it. That's kind of hard, because if you want to offer the porcelain peel, it's going to be on your menu. But I would not suggest doing the porcelain peel with a first-time discount publicly, because that is not permitted. And it competes against other people in the neighborhood. We don't want clients online shopping for like, where can I get the cheapest porcelain peel? This is the reason why many of us are able to charge up around like $200 or more for this peel. And we really, really are very protective of the estheticians that have invested in us, because a lot of people are investing their time, their energy, coming to webinars. Sometimes they're investing with opening orders. And so, of course, as an esthetician, I'm going to protect the people that are going to support us as well. So that's really, really important to me. So any products that you're posting online, we can't say discount, we can't say free shipping, anything like that. We don't allow any online discounting. There is a first-time client discount for you guys. If you have bought the sample kit, yes, there is. Please reach out to me. Send me a message. You should have actually been sent a discount card with that. And it changes on a monthly basis. So, and then it looks like I skipped remineralize. Yeah, so Derek, great question. Thanks for pointing that out. The remineralize is acai berry and it is mangosteen. And the acai berry is anti-inflammatory, and the mangosteen is very oxygenating to the skin. So it's perfect for acne clients. I did skip superfruit, yeah. How much do I charge without nano in my area? Yeah, so if you guys have any more questions, feel free to type them, because I'm available for a little bit. But we charge, in my area, I charge too little, actually. So we were doing for a while, the porcelain peel, we were doing 3 for $400, and we don't do that anymore. We actually charge 3 for $750. But we include like 3 or 4 products. It just depends on the month and what products the client's going to need. So like if they need like both serums, for example, I may need to give them 4 products. That's just how we do it. You can do it totally differently in your area, but 3 porcelain peels for $750 with products is how we would do it. If we were going to do nano is 3 for $900. Um, and I guess that would conclude our webinar today. I apologize for the technical difficulties. We're missing a few slides and had some trouble saving stuff, but we will definitely work on that and improve upon that. And now we know, now that we did our first presentation, we can see our spelling errors, and we had quite a few slides missing. So my apologies, guys, if it looked a little bit like I was struggling. So any questions, you guys can reach out to me privately, or you can type them here. I'll stay on for just a few more minutes if someone has a question, okay? You're welcome, Erin. You're welcome, Fonda. Absolutely. And you guys can unmute your mics if you have any questions. It wasn't that bad. I love that. Okay, so good question. So 3 peels with the nano for $900. I apologize. I can't see your name. It's not showing me people's names either. So my apologies for that. Maybe type your name to me so I know who you are. But 3 peels are not with the nano for $900. That's a great question. I don't typically do 3 full-on porcelain peels with nano for $900. I might do the little 1-minute porcelain peel. I don't think that that's a big deal. But if you're going to do like full-on porcelain peel protocol, and then include products and then include the nano, I think, I mean, in San Francisco, 900 is too cheap. So we would do, the way I do that package actually is, I don't do it that way. I would actually do like 6 treatments for 1,500 and do it that way. So, and then I'll include like 390, like $400 in products. We call it a 30% product rebate. Yeah, Derek, I typically do that exactly. Like I'll just do like an enzyme, a light peel. I know some of you probably use even like, like some like a little bit of lactic acid. It doesn't matter to me which company you use, but you have to keep that percentage really low, like probably 4 or 5% tops. It needs to be super simple, maybe on the skin for just a couple of minutes. You don't want to break down the physiology of the skin before you run your nano device. Because it is, I mean, it can scrape the skin. It doesn't typically scrape the skin, but because it's a stamping machine and you're moving it along the skin, it can create a little bit of excoriation along the way. Yeah, you should definitely increase your price. The higher, the better. You always need to have a product or a service that is like your high-end service. Absolutely. There's always going to be like your intro service. Most estheticians still have a basic facial. That makes a lot of sense, but you always need to have a high-end service. Because if you can build that, you'll have quite a business. You're welcome, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I hope this was helpful. Again, I just want to mention the code and the, I'll put this screen back up here so you guys can get the code. So the code is freebie1, and that code will be available for the rest of the night. Oh, great, Stephanie, that's awesome. Your box arrived today. That's awesome. It still won't show me your name, unfortunately, so I don't know who you are. Tell me who you are. Tell me your name. Okay, there you go. Okay, Michelle, I'm so excited for you. That's perfect. You did, yeah, you did get a great fall. I remember that day. How's your skin feeling, Rhonda? It's not showing me a bunch of people's names. I don't know why. I don't know if you guys didn't type your name in or something. It says waiting for name. So maybe you guys just didn't type your name or something when you subscribe when you joined. I'm gonna see if I can get a recording of this. I would like to complete our slides and stuff probably before we start passing it around. So I would say you could message me for that, or maybe we'll just post it in the group temporarily so others can see it. I may post it with a little warning that we had some technical issues, but